2017 benchmark, problems 1 through 10. Which expression is equivalent to this equation? Okay, when they take something that has three terms like this and turn them into the two sets of parentheses, that's when you're supposed to factor. So I'm going to show you two different ways to do this. If you do it using the factoring method, when there's a number in the very front, that's when you multiply the first and the last numbers together to get 8. I would list all the numbers that multiply to give me 8, and then pick the pair that adds to give me 7. Well, when I look at this problem, it doesn't look like anything is going to add to give me 7, because it should be 2 times 4, sorry. So I'm going to look at my answer choices. Let's try foiling the answer choices. If I do 2x times 1x, that becomes 2x squared because I was multiplying two of them together. 2x times positive 4 is a positive 8x. Then I have to do the same thing to the bottom part. I'm also distributing. Take the second number and multiply. Negative 1 times x is negative 1x, and negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. So when I multiply all of these together, and then I combine the like terms in the middle, 8x and negative 1 can combine. This gives me 2x squared plus 7x minus 4. Well, we needed plus 4, so that one does not work. And I'm going to go a little bit faster throughout the rest of these. So when I multiply this one, that gives me 2x squared. That multiplies, that's negative 8x. That one multiplies, that's positive 1x. And that one gives you negative 4. So this time when I combine the like terms, those two in the middle, this gives me 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. So this one is wrong because it has the wrong signs for the 7 and for the 4. So automatically B can't be it. When I do the last one, 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 4 is positive 8x. 1 times x is positive 1x. And 1 times 4 is positive 4. Combine like terms in the middle, I've got 2x squared plus 9x plus 4, which does not match the original equation, so it would have to be D, none of these. Okay, number 2. What expression is equivalent to this thing? All right, whenever you see one of these giant fraction bars with a bunch of negative exponents, the first thing that I want you to do is simplify the numbers in front if there are any. So if I type this out, I've got 14 divided by 8. I got the decimal, so let's press math, enter, enter. That really gives me positive 7 over 4. So I know that I really should have 7 over 4. So right away, G is gone, and I think that's about it. Now, as far as the exponents go, if they have positive exponents, leave the numbers where they are. So a to the 4th was already positive, so it's going to stay where it is. B to the 6th power was also positive, but c to the negative 10th power has to change the side that it's on, so it moves down, then it's positive. Now I'm looking at the bottom row. A to the negative 2 needs to move up, now it's positive. B cubed was already positive, so it can stay down there. But c to the negative 5th power needs to move up, and now it's positive. Now because I have the same letters multiple times, I'm going to expand this problem. Leave the 7 and the 4 alone because we've already taken care of that. But a to the 4th power really means that I have 4 a's all being multiplied together. B to the 6th is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 b's. And then a squared is 2 a's. C to the 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the bottom row, I've got b cubed and c to the 10th. Okay. When you have the same letter on top and bottom of your fraction bar, mark them out one at a time until you've gotten rid of all of those letters on one side of the fraction bar. Now I'm out of b's on the bottom, so I'm done. Do the same thing with the c's, and now I don't have the same letters on top and bottom, so I can combine everything they have in common. So I've still got 7 on the top and 4 on the bottom. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 a's, so that's a to the 6th power. 1, 2, 3 b's, so b cubed. And on the bottom I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 c's, so that one is c to the 5th power. That one should be answer choice H. Okay. Now number 3. The nth term of a series is determined by this expression. The table below shows the values of different terms of a series. What is the value of the 100th term in the series? Well, when you look at this problem, when they say the nth term, all that means is that it could be like the 10th term, the 5th term, the 6th term, the 7th term, whatever number, but any number in this series can be determined with this equation. So when they tell me that I want to find the 100th term, and n is talking about the number of terms, well, they're just telling me that n equals 100. And I've got the equation right up here, n squared minus n divided by 2, so let's plug in 100 into that equation. So it would be 100 squared, so 100 squared minus 100, all of that divided by 2. So let's plug this into our calculator, and you can do the whole alpha y equals enter to be able to turn a fraction on. When I type all of that in exactly like it looks, it gives me 4,950, which is answer choice C. Okay. Now number 4. Which expression is a factor of 36x squared minus 49? Okay, factoring. That's when we're going to turn it into those two sets of parentheses. Now, in order to factor something like this, when it's only two terms, that's a difference of squares. You have to have a positive one and you have to have a negative one. But other than that, all you need to do is take the square root of each term. So the square root of 36x squared is 6x. And the square root of 49 is equal to 7. So that means this one came first, so I've got 6x and 6x. 7 was second, so it's got to go second in each set of parentheses. Now the reason you don't take the negative sign is if you take the square root of a negative 49, it's going to give you an error. But the negative sign came from multiplying a positive 7 and a negative 7 together. That's why there's got to be two different signs. So the one that matches up is answer choice J. Number 5. Given f of x equals 6 times 1 minus x, what is the value of f of negative 8? Well, normally this thing looks like f of x. So when they put a number inside the parentheses, all they want you to do is take that number and plug it in place of x in the equation. So I would just do 6 times 1 minus my x value, which we said was negative 8. And I personally always like to make sure that I put my number in parentheses when I'm replacing a letter. So 6 times 1 minus a negative 8, just like that, gives me positive 54. Number 6. The diagram shows the floor of a plan of a storage facility. All dimensions are given in feet. Which expression represents the area of the storage facility in square feet? Okay, so area. If you've got the area of a rectangle and you go onto your star chart, the area is equal to BH, which means the base of your rectangle times the height. So it is the same thing as length times width. The base of this rectangle is talking about 5x plus 4, so I'm going to put that inside parentheses when I replace the b. And the width is 4x minus 4, so I also need to put that one in parentheses. Okay. So in order to multiply these two things together, it's 2 terms times 2 terms. That's the FOIL process. So I start by taking 5x and multiply it to everything in the other set of parentheses. 5 times 4 gives me 20. I'm multiplying 2 x's together, so that's 20x squared. 5x times negative 4 is negative 20x. Don't forget about the x because it is important. Then I need to multiply 4 times 4x. That gives me a positive 16x. And 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. So now all I need to do is combine like terms. 20x squared is the only one that has x squared, so it doesn't combine with anything. But these two both have regular x's, and if I do negative 20 plus 16, that's negative 4x, and then I still have my minus 16. So the answer choice that matches would be answer choice G. Number 7. A savings account balance can be modeled by the graph of the linear function shown on the grid. Okay, so they kind of told me right now, we know we're dealing with a linear function. What is the rate of change of the balance with respect to the number of deposits? Now the big vocabulary words that we need to know right here is rate of change, which means the exact same thing as slope. So we are trying to find the slope of this line. There's a couple of different ways you can do it, but if you can write down 2 points, you can basically have the calculator do it for you. Now this one looks like the point 1, 150. This one looks like the point 2, 250. So what I'm going to do is go into my calculator. I'm doing stat edit, and I need to clear out everything that I have in here. I've got to type these 2 points. So I've got my 2 x values, and you need to make sure that your y values match up. So 1, 150. and then 250 right there. Stat calculate, they told me this is a line, and it is a line in the picture, so I select number 4, and I got this as my answer. Now remember that slope is the number that's attached to your x, so the slope of this equation has to be 100. So it's $100 per deposit. You could have also told or noticed that it always goes up by 100 and then over 1. That's why the slope is 100. Number 8. Baseball fans can buy tickets for seats in the lower deck or upper deck of the stadium. Tickets for the lower deck cost $42 each. Tickets for the upper deck are 75% of the cost of the tickets for the lower deck. Which inequality can be used to represent all possible combinations of x, the number of tickets for the lower deck, and y, the number of tickets for the upper deck that someone can buy for no more than $800. Okay, now the very first thing that I'm going to take care of is right here. When you say you have no more than $800, that does not mean that you have more than that. You have less than $800. Now, no more than 800 means it could also be equal to that, because 800 is no more than 800. So right away, I'm going to get rid of 2 of my answer choices. So H and J are gone just from dealing with the inequality. Now, if I go back into the problem, they said that tickets for the lower deck cost $42 each. And we know the lower deck is actually talking about x. So there should be 42x in there somewhere, and both of those have it. Now, what they said about the lower deck, or the upper deck, is that they are 75% the cost of the lower deck, which means they don't cost as much money as the lower deck did. So they would not be more than how much the lower deck cost. They would be less. And if you actually remember how to do 75% of something, if I have 42 and I want 75% of that, I multiply it by 0.75. That gives me 31.5. Number 9. Which of the following is equivalent to this equation? All right. If you look at all of your answer choices, every single one of them has the y by itself. So let's solve this equation so that we have y by itself. First thing, when you're trying to get y alone, you move the thing that is not attached to it. It was a positive 3x, so we've got to do the opposite and subtract it. That works because 3x minus 3x is 0, so now the only thing on that side is negative 4x. Now over here you have to worry about combining like terms. If something has an x and the other one doesn't, they cannot be added or subtracted from each other, so I'm just going to rewrite them. So the next step, I've got to get rid of the number attached to my letter y. I divide everything by negative 4. So I've got y is equal to. Now if you're not good at dealing with the fractions, just type it into your calculator. Negative 3 divided by negative 4 gives you a decimal. So if you press math, enter, enter, that gives you positive 3 over 4x. And if I do the other one, 6 divided by negative 4, also a decimal, so press math, enter, enter, that gives you negative 3 over 2. So the one that matches with this equation would be D. Number 10. A circle has a radius of 6x to the 9th y to the 5th centimeters. The area of a circle can be found using this equation. What is the area of a circle in square centimeters? So we are actually looking for the area, and they gave us the radius. So here's my equation. Area is equal to pi r squared. So if they gave me the value of the radius, I'm going to take that and plug it in place of r. But don't forget that anytime you are plugging in a letter, you need to go ahead and put that thing in parentheses. So 6x to the 9th power, y to the 5th power is inside the parentheses, and that whole thing is being squared. Now when you have something that's already got a bunch of exponents and it's being raised to the 2nd power, you need to take care of this exponent first. So what that means to me is that I've got this set of parentheses twice. So that would be 6x to the 9th, y to the 5th, times 6x to the 9th, y to the 5th. Okay, so we're multiplying a bunch of exponents together. Let's go ahead and expand them. So my area is equal to pi. I've still got the 6, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in parentheses. X to the 9th power, and y to the 5th. And on the other one, I also have 6x to the 9th and y to the 5th. Okay. So So when you're multiplying these two things together, the numbers, the big numbers, multiply together just like they always have. 6 times 6 gives me 36. I still have the pi right there, so I need to make sure I don't forget about that one. Now I can add up my x's. I've got 9 here and 9 here, so that means I have x to the 18th power. I have 5 y's and 5 y's, so that gives me y to the 10th power. So this one should actually match up with answer choice G.